Hey, what's up everyone? Before I get into today's topic, I want to thank y'all for the support on my videos so far. I know I'm really just known for being a competitive NRS player, so seeing the support and feedback I've gotten for this has been really cool. Doing videos discussing and analyzing anime is something I've been wanting to try for a while. I love to think deeply about the themes and characters in the anime that I enjoy, and being able to share that with an audience is something that I'd love to have. I'm also a big fan of channels that specialize in videos similar to these, and I've always wanted to throw my 2 cents in beyond just making a comment. Going to see where this goes and try to improve with each video. Today's topic is going to be about My Hero Academia. This is an anime that I'm a big fan of. I'm sure you guys can already tell I'm a huge fan of shonen. Dragon Ball is my first anime, Naruto was my favorite for the longest, and the one that I've easily spent the most time watching and thinking about. I'm a huge fan of Bleach as well. Out of the new shonen, I don't really know what my favorite is. I'm a big fan of Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, and My Hero. I'm sure I'd like Black Clover too, I just haven't gotten around to watching it. I'll most likely do a video about all these series in the near future. Today though, I'm going to be talking about the crisis of losing All Might as a shield in My Hero Academia. There are a lot of big moments in My Hero. I would say that that's the strength of the anime, right? At times there's dull periods where there's school events and other things that are super low stakes, that act as a breather in between the big events in the story. An example of that is the concert in between the overall arc and the Endeavor Nomu fight. Some of these periods that are used as breaks I'm not really a fan of. I didn't mind the concert though because I really enjoyed the Gentle Criminal or La Brava stuff that was happening in between. But when discussing their favorite big moments up to this point in the anime, I hear a lot of people mention moments like All Might vs. All for One, Deku vs. Overhaul, Deku vs. Muscular, All Might vs. the first Super Nomu, and Endeavor vs. the Hooded Super Nomu. These moments, along with some others, really define the series. They're some of the most iconic in shonen battle anime. What I love so much about Endeavor vs. the Hooded Nomu and Season 4 in general is the lack of All Might as the unstoppable force he had been in Seasons 1 through 3. All Might was used as essentially a shield that let the characters develop and grow without them being able to tackle the biggest threats right away. You see this in other new shonens as well, with the Hashiras in Demon Slayer, or Gojo in Jujutsu Kaisen. New shonen still mostly use the trope of the main character having a big power that can help them overcome anything, like Deku having One for All, but these new ones don't spam it and give it more limits, making things less predictable and arguably more interesting. All Might was the shield that allowed the cast to develop and potentially tackle the biggest threats without it seeming rushed. During Season 3, after Bakugo was kidnapped by the League of Villains, it leads to All Might's biggest adversary, All for One, returning. This fight marks the end of All Might's abilities. It's shown very early in the anime that All Might's godly power has an expiration date. We see this as early as Episode 2, so we get the idea that while All Might is able to shut down the villains to this point, there will be a time where he's not there. There will be a time where others will have to be that symbol of hope. During and after stopping All for One in Season 3, it was made apparent that All Might's power has hit that expiration date. The symbol that had prevented many villains from having their way with society is done. As much time as the characters have had to progress, the rest of Season 4 gives us a taste of how not ready the cast is to replace All Might. During the Overhaul arc, we would have seen the death of Deku along with Eri being left in the villain's hands if it weren't for Eri being able to unlock Deku's potential. We get another example of how hard it's going to be at the very end of the season when Dabi releases the most dangerous Nomu yet, the Hooded Nomu. When it comes to replacing All Might, one of the main heroes that this burden falls on immediately is the previous number 2 and now number 1 hero, Endeavor. Endeavor is a polarizing character. He's a man who is extremely driven to surpass the unsurpassable All Might. His methods and attitude about chasing that dream were very toxic though. He picked his wife based on her quirk, and he was very cruel to his family, pushing his children insanely hard. He was attempting to make them strong enough to do what he could and surpass All Might, but along the way he pushed his wife to the breaking point and made his children resent him. Since then, Endeavor has made efforts here and there like bringing his wife flowers, or rooting on his son in a less toxic way, but he's far from redeemed at this point in the story. But regardless of all that, he has attained what he wanted. With All Might out of the picture, he's now the number 1 hero. You'd assume that a man who has attained the power he has would be able to hold it down and protect everyone in All Might's absence. This isn't the case though. With All for One lingering and the production of Super Nomus, everyone is at risk and will be pushed to their limit. This is showcased in Endeavor's first big on-screen fight, when he takes on the hooded Super Nomu in the Season 4 finale. Endeavor isn't alone in this fight. He's joined by the newly named number 2 hero Hawks. Despite being only one rank below Endeavor, he couldn't be more different than the fire-based hero. He's a smart, calculated hero, so much so that he's taken up an undercover job where he pretends to be a traitor with the League of Villains. Because of that undercover job, he actually knew of the hooded Nomu and Dobby's plans to unleash it. He just didn't know that Dobby was going to release it now and in the middle of the city. Hawks uses his powers in this fight to aid Endeavor as much as he can and save civilians. As far as damage goes, he's not much of a threat to the Nomu though, so it really comes down to Endeavor. What I love so much about this fight is with the combination of the show putting the pressure on with All Might being gone, and Endeavor being a polarizing character that's not part of the main cast, I didn't know who was going to win. Typically in Shonen, you know who is going to win, or at least that the good character will make it out okay. In this situation though, I had no idea if Endeavor would live or die. The music in this fight is absolutely incredible. Endeavor's determination to be strong and be number 1 is shown when he pushes himself forward, despite having massive injuries and overheating his body. During the fight, it keeps cutting to people watching the fight, whether at the location or on TV, and this really adds to the intensity. You got All Might stressing out knowing that he can't help now. You got Endeavor's children rooting him on even though they resent him. You got all of Class 1A watching. It's a really intense fight and intense moment in the show. The Nomu being such a tall task for both Hawks and Endeavor is a huge showcase of the crisis that these heroes are in now without All Might. I mean, we're watching the number 1 and number 2 heroes take on one villain, and the outcome is uncertain. Who knows what else the villains are cooking up, or when All for One will be freed again. And if Endeavor and Hawks fall here, who is going to stop this Super Nomu from having its way with the city? The stakes are higher than ever. In the conclusion of the fight, Endeavor pushes himself and the Nomu up so high that his attack doesn't impact the city. Then he unleashes his ultimate attack, Prominence Burn. As the smoke clears, we see Endeavor still standing, raising his arm with the burnt and finished Nomu laying behind him. The days of All Might bailing everyone out and putting fear into the villains is over, but through the resolve of Endeavor, the day is saved, for now.
Even though All Might has effectively retired, heroes cannot stop moving forward. We are the ones who must carry his symbol now. And we will.